everybody? I appreciate you guys being here, man. It means a lot. Got me, one of my best friends, Blake Holmes, right here. We have been talking about this for a really fucking long time, and we're finally here. What's up, bro?
What's up, Chad? Thanks for having me.
No, this is us. This is us. Huh?
Okay. Did you tell everybody how you kind of forced this on me? Tell them how I was dragging my feet. We've been talking about this forever, and just made it happen.
We did. I mean,
why we're here.
Well, it's like one of those things where it's like I've been thinking about it for like a really long time, and I knew that this is something that we talked about for like the better part of a year, about at least like trying to think about a podcast and kind of figure out what we wanted to do with it. And I think we're finally here, and I was like, okay, enough dragging. We need to I'm just gonna make a graphic. We're just gonna do it on my channel, and then we can just go from there and just at least get all of the kinks out now.
100%. I think starting is sometimes the hardest part.
Yeah.
And part of why we're doing this podcast, right? Like we just talked about people's different journeys in life, and there's not one road to get there. I mean, you just posted a clip the other day of somebody coming into your stream and telling you they're taking some time off of school, and just kind of the stress that comes along with that, and the pressure you get from your parents and societal pressure, and there's really just not one road to get there. And just finding that reason to get out of bed in the morning, finding your why. And I feel like you and I, we built this, this network of people who do cool stuff as a career. And I wish I had, something like this, especially growing up and just trying to figure out like, what do I want to do with the rest of my life? Because some people are fortunate and they find it early, and other people, we just kind of wander around until it comes about, and it's like, all right, where do I spend my time? How do I start? And so I'm happy that this is, episode 1, the birth, and we're finally getting started.
Yes, sir. Step. I love it. So we got everybody in chat right now, as you can see as well. Thank you guys for all the love showing out on our first podcast. There's a lot it was weird because like I'm not nervous ever live streaming like Twitch and shit, right? No. Like playing video games and like the whole chat thing. But I was like, as we were like in like that intro scene, I was like, bro, like this is like totally different. Something totally that like we haven't done before. So this is episode 1. We're gonna be trying to just get everything out right now. There's graphics, all that kind of stuff that we want to I guess more or less move forward with. But right now it's just about getting ourselves out there, talking about what we want to talk about. Blake, this was what, beginning of December maybe, had the great idea for a field trip. So we're going to kind of talk about what is the why behind the podcast, why we might be unique, and just kind of make this a weekly Sunday morning thing that we can do. We have different work schedules. We got different stuff we got going on in life, but trying to take at least an hour out of the weekend every Sunday morning with a field trip. So if you want to elaborate on that, since you're the creator behind the field trip idea, you can go ahead and talk about that.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, I think you kind of came up with the name, but you and I were talking, and I alluded to the fact of I hated getting up and going to school every day. I like my mom had to come into my room, wake me up like 2, 3, 4 times. I just never wanted to go, except for the days you knew you were going on a field trip. Like you knew you were going to a museum. You didn't even care where you were going. It just wasn't school. I mean, you were up, clothes were laid out the night before, and I think, as we go through life, sometimes we lose that feeling, and we get back into it's so hard to get up in the morning the next day. And I felt like this podcast would just be a really cool thing to do on Sundays. There's no football right now. You can brunch any other day of the week. And so I feel like Sundays are great, especially because, for those people that work like a Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, Sunday scaries are a real thing. So having something fun to do and something to look forward to on Sunday afternoon, I really like that spot. But yeah, that's a little bit about kind of the why for me, and definitely where the name came from, right? Like if you could get up every day thinking you were going on a field trip, and it's part of like just the unknown, like not knowing what the day is going to entail, not anticipating, any type of challenges in your life. You're just expecting to have fun and essentially I know it sounds corny, but like go on an adventure. And I think if you could wake up like that, you'd be a lot happier just in your life. So that's what it means for me. And I feel like you and I are very similar in that way. How did you come to the name being Field Trips? Because I know we played around with a few different things.
Yeah. I mean, you're the one that hit it on the head for sure. For definitely, like, Field Trip was one of those things that took you away from whatever your mundane grind was. And I actually talked about this last night on stream at the end of it. I was like, yo, like, just so you guys know, this is like the Field Trip idea that we're playing around. And the few people that were in there that are actually in chat right now as well, definitely loved the idea of it. And it was something that, like, just really spoke to me as well, because, you know, we all have our grind. We all have, like, our 9 to 5 type of thing, even if it's not traditional 9 to 5. Right. But there's always, like, the vacation-esque escape, right? Whether you're just trying to get away from that thing. So I think that was kind of our big thing behind the Field Trip name of the podcast. And just going to be able to, you know, you and I got great banter. We can bring on amazing people during this, try to get some different stories and different perspectives. Kind of like, that's why you and I love Rogan so much, right? Is because, like, not only is Rogan himself, like, the embodiment of just, like, being objective towards any sort of outlook and trying to learn from human experience, but also you learn so much from other people as well. Like, there's some great content creator friends that have reached out to me, trying to be like, hey, like, it'd be cool to get a spot. And it's just like one of those things where, as long as there's the motive to inspire, I think that we're going to be absolutely hitting it on the head, as well as being able to, like, you know, bullshit about life and that kind of stuff, because at the end of the day, you know, we got to have fun with it too.
Exactly. Like, you touched on it, but the intent is genuine. You know, we're not trying to sell anything down your throat or talk about anything that's not real. Honestly, I think we're talking about something that most people just don't talk about every day, you know?
Yeah.
And try to get me up for work at 5 a.m. Tough sell. But if I'm getting up for golf, or like you said, if I know I'm going on vacation, I'm going to the airport, going straight to the bar, grabbing a beer before my flight, like, easy, all day. Up at 5 all day. And like you said, we all have those things that kind of drag us during the week, whether it's our current career or whatever it might be. And I think it's so important just to find something that you're passionate about. And I've been missing that personally for so long. I mean, even just in high school, I had sports, right? And then you get older and it's like, okay, I can't play contact sports as a hobby. Like, that, my body's just already right. Like, that's not gonna happen. Like, I get injured sleeping now. Like, I wake up, my neck's 7 different ways, shoulders are blown out. So it's like, all right, I'm not gonna try out for any type of, you know, physical sport at this age. Like, I know that sounds terrible. I'll be 29 this year, which that sounds
weird.
To say,
so weird.
You shift, and it's like, and I have hobbies, but definitely less of them than I used to. I mean, I have the gym, which is great, and one thing I love to do, I love to tell stories, I love to connect with people, I like asking questions, and this just felt like such a natural fit. So I'm really happy to be here. Should we tell people kind of how we met?
Yeah, definitely.
And the backstory there, how we fell in love and the podcast, baby.
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of the guys in chat obviously know me personally, but for those of you who don't, I'm originally from Denver, moved to LA, did the whole, like, music chase dreams things out there. Obviously went a different direction post LA, and we're out here now live streaming podcasts as Blake and Chad. But you know, music was a big influence in my life when I was a part of when I was in college. You know, I was still trying to kind of do athletics a little bit, and then went to school, fell in love with music, moved to LA, and within those first couple of years, I met Blake. And I mean, it was you originally. Everybody knows Sosa in chat. Y'all, everybody fucking knows Sosa. This is Sosa's older brother, if you guys don't know. And he's the one that introduced me to Sosa, because I told him that I gamed, all that kind of stuff. He's like, oh, you should play with my brother Jarrett. And it was so funny, bro, because obviously, you know, the relationship I have with your brother now. Everybody loves him in stream, and
it's borderline inappropriate. But
it's honestly probably very inappropriate. Like, if somebody in Twitch wants to, like, look over my VODs with me and Sosa in there might be some red flags that come up for sure.
100% definitely.
But no, yeah, so obviously, and then you and I worked together and we built our relationship, and we've always kind of had the same sort of mentality of just trying to strive for something greater and be better than whatever whatever it is, right? Just finding your why, finding your drive on whatever you want to do. And Blake has talked about wanting to do voice acting and trying to be in that department or something, because the more we do these podcasts, the more you're going to hear it probably come out and hear him talk with his golden voice. And this was kind of like just a natural for us, because this is something that I'm very passionate about, as well as the whole field trip thing. Is you guys hear me in my stream all the time talking about just striving to be the best possible version of yourself, and in whatever facet that may be. So that's kind of that inspiration as well, and how we met. And yeah, I think I answered that right.
I think one key thing you're missing is first impressions, because right off the bat, Taylor and I worked at this restaurant. I'll leave the name out of it just in case we blow up. I don't want to offend anybody.
Right.
We worked at this restaurant. I was totally drinking the Kool-Aid in terms of like how to greet the tables and upselling and all that. And in walks this little blonde-haired kid from Colorado. He's like, yeah, I moved out here, I do music, I'm a rapper and all this shit. I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna show you how to greet a table properly, so like, let's go. And yeah, I mean, and he's told me years later, like after the fact, he's like, dude, when I first met you, he's like,
wasn't a fan.
I thought you sucked. Like, I thought you were that guy in a restaurant that just took your job way too seriously. And I was like, wasn't even that. It's not like I was passionate about working in a restaurant. It was just like, I was so obsessed with doing a good job, regardless of what I was getting paid to do. And you meet, like, working in a restaurant is interesting because you meet so many different people that are usually pursuing other things. Like unless you want to be a GM and you're starting at the bottom, like you started as a host and you worked your way up, like, most people who work in a restaurant, they're pursuing other dreams.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel like it was such a cool fit, because once you get to know people and you're going outside of work, like I found out Taylor, we're very similar. We played sports and we liked a lot of the same shit, played video games, and so that's how we kind of connected. But yeah, first impressions, he was not a fan, and that's fine. I get that.
It's not even like I was a fan. It's just like I'm still the same way in my current job too. It's just like I'm just so laid back about just everything, right? And it's just like I know that I walk the fine line of giving off the impression that I just don't give a fuck. But I do give a fuck, and I'm actually really good at my job. I'm just like, I won't go the extra mile that you do. And maybe that's just a bad mentality inside of my own head, right? But no, when I first met Blake, it was definitely like, he was the dude who slicked back his hair every single day, looked the fucking best, was the best like server in the front of the house. And I'm just like, yo, fuck this guy. Not really, but no, then we got beers, and it's like, oh, this isn't actually him. This is just who he is when, we're in a professional setting.
That's just a character I played. Like 100%. 100%.
Right. Yeah. Well,
every time you had to put on that fake smile, bro. And I'm so fortunate, like, that I don't work in a restaurant anymore.
Yeah.
I'd been doing it since I was 16. Got my first job on my first tank of gas. I'm one of four, so obviously Jarrett. I have an older brother and older sister, and I get the hand-me-down car. My dad gives it to me. I remember. I think I was a senior in high school, and it was pretty sweet. It was like a '97 Infiniti and Infiniti Q45, and this thing was sweet. So like back in the day in '97, this was like a boss car. It was like a BMW or Mercedes. Like my dad was a yuppie back in the day.
It was like it wasn't actually a BMW, but it was like one.
Oh, ask anybody. Ask Max, ask Kyle. We used to roll in the queue, and before I swapped out the radio, the knob was broken. So my friends would get in the car and they'd try to either turn it down or turn it up, and that it was game over from there. Like, it had so many issues. I was the third person in line to get it. So my sister played bumper cars with it. There was like, there were scratches and dings and dents and all that kind of stuff. But I love that car, and it was a V8, dude. So like, gas was not like easy to come by for me because I just remember my dad giving me his card, and he's like, yo, I'm gonna fill up your tank, and from now on it's your responsibility. And I got my first job, admittingly, at Chili's in West Hills, because that's where I grew up. So my first job was Chili's. Started as a host, moved to go, met some cool people, and then finally a server. And even just making the jump, like, I remember my dad, like, you could tell it just killed him inside to say, like, oh yeah, my son's working at Chili's. Like, And I didn't really feel that way. I was just happy to have a job. And plus, a lot of my other friends who were like in school, I made more money than them because
serving.
we were pursuing two different things. You know what I mean? So they were always broke, and I was always like, oh yeah, I can go out this weekend. Like I can buy drinks, and like I'm a very giving person too. So they'd be like, well, I don't have any money to go out. I'm like, that's fine, I got you. Like don't even worry about it. You know, when you're making that server money, living at home, don't have any bills, like you really are balling. You're balling 100%. Even just making that jump from Chili's to a better restaurant, like I just remember my dad being like, why don't you just go to a restaurant where like the food is better and more expensive and like you make more money? And I'm like, Dad, I don't think you get it. Like I push back so hard. I'm like, I don't think you get it. I get all the best shifts. You know, I get the closing shifts, all this and that. Like hindsight 2020, like 100%, I should have done that years prior. It's like, it's weird because somebody could tell you. You really have to realize it on your own, and that's what I'm learning. Like, even if you try to help somebody who's not asking for help, it's not going to work. They have to come to the realization on their own. And hopefully this podcast, somebody hears something that just kind of strikes a chord with them and makes the light bulb go off. I love those like light bulb moments, and that's what this really means for me.
Yeah,
I love bullshit with my friends. I love talking. I love telling stories, and and for me especially, all right, I guess I'll give a backstory. So I worked in restaurants for a while, and I was trying to figure out what to do with my life. So I got my real estate license, and I went to a commercial real estate firm, and I tried that for a while. And for people that aren't as familiar, so commercial real estate would be like somebody that owns apartment buildings, anything that generates revenue. So we're not talking about like residential, anything like that, like your typical residential broker. These are more like investment properties, so triple net leases, things that people own, like office buildings, for example. It was a much different environment than I thought. I had like no real insights into the industry. The only thing that made me qualified to be there was the fact that I had a real estate license in California.
Right.
And you're 1099, so you're an independent contractor. I did not get paid by the company that I work for. Mind you, the company was publicly traded. Did not collect a paycheck. It was feast or famine. You didn't get paid unless you closed a deal. And they even tell you that. They set you up for that. They give you training. You get a little cubicle, and you think it's all exciting. You have to wear a suit and tie every day, which in my mind, that's what success looked like.
Yeah.
At the time, when I was like, 23, 24, I was like, that's what success looks like. Dressing up, suit and tie every day. Until you're there and you can experience for yourself, and you're like, why do I have to wear a suit and tie every day if I'm not going on meetings, not making fucking money? Like I want to be in sweatpants because this is how I feel on the inside. And we're definitely seeing that, with the pandemic and stuff, and working from home, and we could talk about that too. But so I tried commercial real estate. I got beat up for a while. So you basically set up meetings with property owners, and you only make money in real estate on the buying and the selling of it. So it's either let me list your property and sell it for, premium. And these are millions of dollars worth of assets. And then it's when somebody sells a commercial building, if you don't redeploy the equity into an exchange, they call it a 1099 exchange, you get hit with capital gains. So if somebody was to sell, let's say their 7-unit apartment building, and they had X amount of money after the notes paid off, they need to redeploy that capital somewhere else. It's hopefully going to give them a higher rate of return. So people, and it's applicable across different product types. So I mentioned like multifamily being apartments, like you can go into office industrial, you can go into the triple net lease. And a triple net lease would be like, a Taco Bell, where you don't own the Taco Bell, you just own the parcel of land that it's on and maybe the structure. Taco Bell kind of handles everything else. So you have a really good tenant in there. You're only responsible for a few things. It's more of a passive type investment because you're not hands-on in terms of management. So you're literally just collecting, money from a mailbox. They just send you a rent check every month, and it's a lot easier to manage than, let's say, an apartment building. Especially if you don't have a property management company and something breaks, like you're going out and doing that. I learned a lot. All right, here's the point of the story. I'm
like, what am I?
You gotta hone me in, man. I'm wild.
I'm just letting you go.
My brain's working.
So you did the real estate thing, and then you went to your next job.
It was the grinder. I was making I was making cold calls, getting chewed up on the phone, getting cussed out, like, don't ever fucking call me again. It was tough. Like,
right.
When you get that, when you have to face rejection day in, day out, it gets harder and harder to pick up the phone, make the dials, right? And so I got about a year in. I don't even think I made it a year. I think it was about 10 months. And I'm like, I just can't do it. And plus, I was working on the restaurant on the weekend, so I was burning the candle at both ends. I'm like, I can't do this. This is not sustainable.
I remember that.
Yeah, it was very tough. And it got to that point where I didn't want to get out of bed and go to work the next day. I'm like, I just dreading it. I'm like, I don't want to fucking be here. And I got into a sour mindset. We'll preface by saying I worked with some very wealthy people. So if you can break through that, like if you're thinking about getting into real estate and commercial real estate, that's just my experience. And it probably just wasn't a good fit for me. It's not a bad fit for everybody. I even have friends that are still doing it, making a lot of money. The potential is there. And, for me, there was a few variables that went into it, but I wasn't successful. I'll admit that. I wasn't successful at it. But sometimes, that comes from just spending your energy and your focus in the right place. So if you feel like you're not in the best environment for you, be able to pivot. And that's the point of the story is it's okay. I still tried, you know what I mean? I didn't just go to work and not make my dials or not reach out to people. It's, I still put effort forth. And I think the turning point for me was, all right, if I was making a lot of money doing this, would I still be happy? And, I kind of answered the question as no. From there, I went, I was still with the restaurant, but I got approached to do management, which in my mind, I'm like, oh, salary, benefits. Yeah, let's
steady
do it.
income.
I didn't even steady income, especially from coming off of a year of just earning money. Like I rocked up a pretty good size credit card bill at that point. And so it was very attractive. But it was another learning experience because I didn't ask a lot of the questions on the front end. I didn't even do the back of the napkin math to say that okay, I'm going to sign for X amount of dollars, work more hours, and make less money. It didn't even occur to me maybe it was just the status of getting the management title, or I don't know what it was, but it's
a resume boost too,
Resume boost, 100%. It was definitely exactly. It was part of that as well. And I think just to be recognized, I opened this restaurant. I've been working here for the last couple of years. I do deserve this shit. And there was a whole set of, we'll just say, learning experiences coming from that. And I learned very quickly that restaurant management is not where I wanted to be. I got introduced to one of my girlfriend's friends after work. Believe it or not, we went over to Joey's, which, I like Joey's. The food's good. I've never had good service there. I will just
It's a bar in LA.
Bro, that Joey's is filled with plenty of people that should be listening to this podcast because they are definitely have other priorities in their life, and good service is not one of them. I will say that.
Okay, let's give a backstory to that one. So yeah, I don't know where they're located at in the country, but basically Joey's is like Hooters, but like fine dining in both sexes. Like they definitely hire exclusively beautiful people. LA being a prime location for people who are beautiful because you're going there to be usually part of movie industry, music industry, what the fuck ever, acting, modeling, all that shit. And it's hilarious because it's like you go there, you're just like, oh my God. And then you go to Joey's, and this was right across the street from where we worked together. And at Joey's, you go in there, you're like, what the fuck is this? And you're like, everybody is hot. Everybody is hot. But like, it's usually terrible. See, Nasty Apples in chat said Joey's is awful. We have them in Seattle. See, exactly. So it sounds like it's a universal truth.
It's terrible for like ugly people like myself. Like I just look around. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here. This is not my kind of place. You know what I mean? Like.
So you learned a lot. You went through. You're in software sales now, correct?
Yes. Thank you for bringing that full circle. But yeah. I mean, I got lucky. I got introduced. Like, I had someone refer me. Basically, started as an entry level BDR, business development representative, and then as of November of this year, I moved into the mid market sales team. That's awesome. That's where I'm at now. I'm loving life. My girlfriend and I recently moved. For those of you that don't know me, I live in Southern California. the most expensive place on the planet to live. And yeah, I'm very fortunate. I love the company that I work for. I love the culture, the people. But I just needed something. I needed something for me. I'm spending even more time, like everything's screen time now. I wake up. Luckily, we have a 2-bedroom now, so I have an office and a guest room and all that, which is cool. Because before it was just my desk was right next to my bed, and that was tough. Like mentally, that was tough. And yeah, I had to be really mentally disciplined just to get up because I was good going into the office. I was very productive. Because I'm easily distracted. Like if I check my phone for one thing,
we're all guilty for that for sure.
Yeah, I just leave it in the other room now. Like I can't.
Yeah.
I go down that rabbit hole. I'm to the point where I'm thinking about like deleting some socials and things like that because, I'm just when I get into something and like I want to change something, I have to go all in. I'm very weird in that way where I'm just like I have to cut ties, like because I don't trust myself enough. Like. If I don't want to eat bad food, I just got to not bring it into the house. Like, let's not buy these snacks. And
no temptation. Yeah, no, we're definitely very much the same way with that. So
that was a lot longer of an intro.
No, you're good. No. So I mean,
gave you good context.
That was good context, and something that I genuinely bring up to. I've definitely brought up to my girlfriend multiple times, and I've definitely brought it up to my brother as well. As I bring you up constantly, even to your brother as well. That and something that you missed as well that I want to comment on is that you were trying to go to the police academy. That ended up obviously ended up being a thing, but at the end of the day, like something that I've talked about multiple times to people in my life is that you are a prime example of just trying shit and running with it and seeing if you like it. Because that's something that I've just tried to tell people in general is like, just try something. It doesn't have to be a passion. It doesn't have to be the end all be all, and that's something that I've had to learn the hard way as well because I had music for 7 years and I like just wouldn't allow myself to detach from it, but that was because I was just so addicted to the results of success, right? And that has changed where I was like, okay, I just need to like we've talked about, you need to just dive into your curiosities and see where they lead you because you literally never know where they're going to take you. I knew video games and that kind of stuff were always like kind of like a thread in my life. I mean, my, Aaron's in our chat right now as well, old roommate, where we would just like, dude, we would game every night, right? So it's one of those things that it just became full circle for me, and it was something that was like completely natural versus music. I definitely had to try to be somebody who wasn't me. So it's been hand in hand that I'm very thankful for. But like I said, I admire you because you've tried so many different things and failed, right? But through those failures, it's so cliche. So cliche, but like they're not failures, they're learning opportunities. But it's like so true, right? Like your toughest times, it's just so hard to get through those. But I can speak to as well, like my girlfriend getting her real estate license now as well, and she just said in the chat as well earlier she didn't know that you had yours in California, and I was like, yeah, that's what he did. He did his whole thing well. So that's just something that I try to preach every day, is just keep going, keep trying, and all that kind of stuff. So
yeah. Dude, you bring up such a good point because I think the most dangerous thing you can do in life is stand still.
Yeah.
And even and like you said, it's like you just have to try.
Mm-hmm.
You can be better about it. You can plan. There's a lot of things you can do on the front end, right? And so that's why part of this podcast, I want to reach out to people on our network that have like cool jobs, so that way we can kind of interview them to understand like what's required. Because I think what happens is, sometimes we try something, we have an expectation in our head, and then whatever we end up doing, say we finally get to that goal, we finally get that job, it's not what we were thinking. And I guess it's, the one message I want to get across is just to tell people like that's normal, like that's okay. And like life is not so definitive, you know what I mean? Like we have all these pressures from, family members, societal pressure, to do something a certain way. College is a perfect example. I didn't go to college. I mean, I went to college. I didn't finish. I didn't even finish my AA. And it's something I think about all the time because, especially working for a publicly traded company now, I've been able to talk my way in and use my previous experience to kind of get where I'm at. And I know I can only climb the ladder so far for, you know, an advancement in my career is just won't be possible without a college degree. But for a long time, and even with that real estate job, I was working with people that had just graduated colleges. Being in California, you get name drop like SC, UCLA, like these were some big time, you know, some big time universities, and I would just instantly put them ahead of me. Until I like started to like work with these people and interact with them on a daily basis. I'm like, dude, you might have went to college, but you're not smarter than me.
There's zero chance you beat me in this. Yeah, 100%.
Like, and I know we have that. Like everybody knows somebody. Like everybody in this chat knows somebody that went to college, and you're like, I don't know how this dude did it.
That paper took him a long way.
They might even have a master's degree, and you're just like, I don't know. Just, you know, and so what I'm trying to, and listen, and I know some people that are probably, you know, lead a class in college that just so smart. And I'm not saying that college isn't important at all.
Of course.
I'm just saying, for me, I didn't have like a light at the end of the tunnel. School was very hard for me. Staying focused, staying on task was very difficult for me. And if you don't have a strong end result or a strong why am I here? What am I working towards?
Right.
That was ultimately my demise with college. I was like, all right, you know, I finish, I get my degree, and then I still don't know what I want to do. And so for me, I didn't see it as a priority. And I think that's the problem with like the school system today is like just get you through high school, and then from there it's like they kind of release you into the world, and it's like you better have it figured out. But what I started to realize is that school prepares you to be an employee, like 100%. Even just finishing college, it shows an employer that I can start something and I can finish it. I know that without a doubt. If you want to specialize in something, you typically have to work in that field for years and understand the ins and outs. That's where the experience comes into play. It's not the college degree that prepared you for that. It's once you started working and the training and the time that you put into and the effort and constantly learning and growing, that's what makes you an expert at something. And I think Elon talks about that all the time. Like he doesn't even put, you know, 4-year degree required because he knows, you know, going after some of these top talent guys like engineers and things like that. Good chance they probably did go to college, but maybe some of them didn't. And he doesn't want to miss that talent pool. You know what I mean?
100%.
And I'm not comparing myself to Elon. I'm not saying I dropped out because I'm a genius and I have, you know, 100 different businesses that I'm working on right now. But, and it's still something I think about, you know, maybe going back and finishing, but I want to do it for me. I don't want to do it for anybody else. My dad would always say like, he just felt really down on himself because, you know, I didn't go to college or my siblings didn't. And I get that because I think about, you know, eventually being a parent. Am I going to prioritize this for my kids? And Chad, I know you have, you know, like probably a similar experience to me, but that's really where this podcast came from. It was just to tell somebody like, if you're in that transitional period, you're thinking about, should I go to college? Should I not? You know, is school harder for me? And when I say school is hard, like that's part of me being lazy, but also part of just the way I learn differently. So could I have gotten through school? Am I capable? 100%. It would be a little bit harder for me, and I'd have to dedicate more time to it. So if I went back, probably do it online like everything else, and it'd have to be a strong why. I'd have to say like, oh yeah, I want to be a VP or I want to do this or that. And if you don't have that, it could be a little tougher to make that decision. But what are your thoughts on that, Chad? Because I know you went to college, right out of high school?
Yeah. I don't know. I think that obviously a degree went a lot further, like our parents' generation for sure. But now it's kind of like a standard, and if there's a standard and there's an overabundance of one thing, it's not going to take you as far as it was before, right? My girlfriend says travel in the chat, and that's definitely something huge, right? And since moving to Georgia, where I didn't know anybody moving here, just like I did LA. And it's like one of those things for me that I think is completely and utterly underrated is like, I think that, I mean, everybody has their own thing. So like if I am like talking to you in terms of like this is you and I'm saying to not do this, or vice versa, that this is like no disrespect by any means, but it's like, I think everybody needs to leave like their hometown. It doesn't have to be a different state or anything. It's just like, we're gonna leave the area that you're from, go experience things, travel things, and definitely just experience life like on a bigger scale. Because something that I'm the most thankful for is taking those risks of going to LA, trying the music thing for 7 years. Like, I've did the music thing, and it was one of those things that just ended up changing in a different direction. And while part of me is like, fuck, like I need to keep going with it, and maybe there's a chance of that, but not the point. What I'm trying to say is like, I've just learned so much by being in different climates with different people and just learning different things, despite how hard it's been at times, right? So, just getting and seeing the world, and this was obviously easier before 2020 because times are a little bit different now, but that's definitely something that I'm just super, super, super passionate about, is just going and doing things and seeing things that are just bigger than outside of your comfort zone, just like Genie Sweets just said.
And I mean, Genie Sweets and you bring up a good point, but there's so much growth in those like challenging times in our life. And that's the thing. Like, it's uncomfortable being uncomfortable. And even just doing this podcast, like, I had the jitters, I was nervous at first, and
which is so
like,
funny because that's not you
good.
though.
I know, 100%.
That's so
100%.
funny.
Like, you get me in a room full of people, that's where I'm most comfortable. Like,
yeah, that's what's crazy to me.
Is fine, and I feel good now. I feel fine, but like, you're nervous. And it's not even that you're nervous. You're excited. You're like, I'm happy to finally be here and talk about things that I want to talk about.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, to your point, like, you moved out here from Colorado to LA with no guarantees of success. And it's not like someone wrote the book on, all right, if you want to be a rapper, this is how you do it. Like, everybody does it differently.
Yeah.
For some people, I can't even speak to it because music, I wish I could speak a different language. I wish I could be musically inclined. I mean, I'm not. Again, it's one of those things I could probably learn by dedicating enough time to it.
Yeah, right.
But to your point, it's the growth. It's what you learn from that. And but I was so sad to see you guys go in the pandemic. But,
that shit sucks.
Like when you guys settled on Georgia, but then I come out there and visit, I'm like, oh, okay, this makes sense. You know what I mean? And like,
yeah.
Even for me, I mean, you're shitting on people that never left their hometown. I grew up in West Hills, man. Which is like,
see, that's why I was like, I know that, like, dude, some of my best friends still live in the Denver area, right? Like back home, right?
Yeah,
and it's like,
there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it. Absolutely, there's nothing wrong with that. I don't know. It's just one of those things where, just getting like whatever your comfort zone is, and we all have different comfort zones for sure.
Yes,
and as long as you're pushing yourself, I think that's what it is. Because just how you said, like, if you're not moving and you're standing still, that's where you get comfortable, and that's where you start to just lose whatever passion, interest that it might be, right?
Yes.
So.
And yeah, it's like a numbers game. Like, for example, if your goal is, I want to make money doing podcasts, the chances of you making money doing a podcast is 0 if you never start the podcast.
Right.
You and I, like, for me, it's not about the immediate success. Like, I had no expectations coming in today. I didn't care, if no one tuned in and watched, we'd still be doing it just for us.
Yep.
And talking through like our why and why we're doing it. The dream, I'll say, would be, see it with Rogan. He was the first, right? $100 million deal with Spotify. That's crazy. It's life-changing money. That's money. You'd have a hard time. That's money you'd have a hard time spending in one lifetime. You know what I mean? But it showed people that it's possible. And I love this because I've talked to a few different people about this topic specifically. But think about your dad coming into your room, which, first of all, my dad was the first person to introduce us to video games. And according to the stories I've heard, he's been playing video games before we were born. I still remember him bringing home the N64 to this day.
That's where Sosa gets it from.
So he used to play with us. We played GoldenEye. Like, he was a killer, and he was into all the flying games and the racing games. So he definitely introduced video games to our household. So if he wants to be mad, that's fine. But think about your dad coming in your room, because again, we're growing up in two different worlds today, and him saying like, you're never gonna make money playing video games, you're wasting your fucking time. Well, now we know without a doubt that is not true.
Right.
Like, and that's one of the things, Taylor, like you said, you know, you admire me for trying different things and pivoting. I remember in quarantine, you're like, yo, I'm gonna spend $1,200 on this computer, like I'm gonna dedicate some time into streaming it. Like, I think everybody kind of has that moment at first of like, all right, bro, like I hope it works out, but then because and here's the thing, it's one thing for your friends to say like, I'm gonna do this, because I'm very much that way. I'm very much a talker, and then when it comes down to doing it, I can be very hesitant, which I'm trying to change that. At least I recognize it, and it's like, it's just being honest with yourself and saying, hey, this is where I fall short in some areas, but like looking in the mirror, and dude, you're gonna hear me reference Goggins on this podcast so much.
David Goggins, go, bro.
His book helped me a lot, bro.
Yeah.
His book helped me a lot with just self-realization is what it was.
For sure.
Like, you've been lying to yourself for a long time, and that's dangerous. That's a dangerous place. Okay, but when you told me, yeah, like I'm gonna play, I didn't know what Twitch was. I didn't know you could make money, and then you introduced me to this world, and the pandemic was great. I think the first week of the pandemic, I bought an Xbox. I hadn't had one in years.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. You didn't have anything,
bro. Call of Duty got me through. There's a year of my life where I don't remember doing a whole lot. I'll be honest. It was mostly just like, all right, when are we dropping? You know, and then with that, I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a couple beers, you know, and it just became like an unhealthy part of my life. But also,
hey, the AX50s were flowing.
Oh my god.
He's like AX. It took a second. Like
I was like, is that a beer that I was drinking? I don't even remember. I was obsessed with that rifle. Like, that was my thing. Like, and I would feel so accomplished getting like a headshot snipe across map. And, but you totally opened my eyes to what was possible with video games. And then you get introduced to some of these streamers like Nick Mercs, right? When he hops online, regardless of what game he's playing, and yeah, I know it's taking a dip because he transitioned over to Apex or whatever. Dude, that guy's making how much money per month per stream?
Per stream, yeah.
Guy is selling out stadiums, 60K.
Literally.
You know what? He's just the first.
Yeah.
He's just the first. It's only gonna grow and get, because there's some kid watching Nick Mercs right now. 100%. There's some kid watching Nick Mercs right now that is a nobody.
Yeah.
That, you know, eventually will be bigger. There's always bigger. There's always more. And one thing it showed kids is that this is entirely possible. Like, this is a career. Look at YouTube. Look at Instagram. Like, the fact that you can get paid just because, you know, marketing companies realize you drive enough traffic to your channel or your posts.
Yeah.
And we're going to pay you for that. And that's way different than when our parents grew up. So they have a hard time seeing that as a career choice.
Absolutely.
To that, Chad, how many people do you know that say, I'm going to be a YouTuber, I'm going to be a streamer, but they don't put in the work? And that's what I wanted to drive home was, you didn't say, I'm going to be a streamer and then expected the success to come.
Yeah.
You knew there was going to be challenges. You knew there was going to be a hard road ahead. Why don't you talk about some of the stuff that you did on the front end in terms of like, all right, this is what I need to kind of educate myself on. And if I want to see any type of success in this, these are the things I need to do consistently. Talk about that, because I genuinely don't know. I know you did a lot with like editing and stuff, but you know, I'm sure there's a lot of people here that are curious or, you know, probably want to start their own streams. And you're a prime example, because you've seen a lot of growth over the last, what's it been now? 2 years?
Almost 2 years, yeah.
Almost 2 years.
I mean, first and foremost was like, I don't know, I got very, the mentality that I've tried to develop for myself is to be addicted to the process and not the results, because results are very toxic, right? When things are up, you're up, but if things are down, you're down, right? So, but you need to be able to maintain the drive and just the keep going mentality of regardless if it's an up or down, right? I've had edits and stuff that I've absolutely loved that completely flop, and then vice versa I'm like, why the fuck did this blow up, right? So it's just one of those things where I originally just got started with I was on console still, and Brian from Kings, my Odoink, his social media name, was a social media marketing person for some other smaller companies with their Instagram pages specifically. And that's obviously where my most growth has happened, is on Instagram. That's because I've just put the most time and effort into it. But I mean, quarantine hit, he told me some ins and outs of how to grow a Instagram page and what he's done for other companies. I learned those things, implemented those into my own, and it's kind of just taken its form. And then along the way, I've been like, okay, there's this edit. How do I do a vertical edit? Let me YouTube this, right? And everything is self-teaching, and that's something that I've learned as well with music, that I didn't want to learn everything. I just wanted to be Jack Harlow, spit bars, and just call it a fucking day. I didn't want to learn how to produce. I did learn how to engineer because you have to own the means of your own process, right? I didn't want to have to pay $60 an hour just to go sit in a fucking room to do what I want to do with my life. So I was like, I have to own my means of operation, which is where the audio engineering degree came in when I moved to LA. And it was the same thing with editing as well. It's like, but the difference between music and gaming for myself was that I do want to learn everything within gaming. It's frustrating. Like, there's some, like, I'm sure, like, some of the gamers in chat, like, you guys see edits, or even yourself, like, you guys see, like, slow motion edits, or, like, there's a graphic or something. You're like, how the fuck did he do that? Why can't I do that? And then, like, you try to watch a tutorial, and you're watching the tutorial, you're like, dude, I don't want to learn this. Fuck it. I'm going to do something else. You know what I mean? So it's just like, but it's like a matter of just like staying driven on top of that first idea, even when you're met with your own frustrations. Cause that's what I'm super guilty of. Just like, okay, I need us to sit down for an hour, give yourself an allotted time period of saying, like, I'm going to sit down, I'm going to learn this, and it's not going to be good the first time. Like, dude, some of my early vertical edits were bad. But you just continue to learn on it, and you continue to grow on it, and you continue to build an arsenal of growth, and you just got to be able to learn along the way, allow yourself to fall along the way, and love the process versus the results. Of course, the results I want are to have thousands of people. I want to be signed. I want to make my living and provide for my family off of gaming and streaming. 1,000,000% that's the goal. But unfortunately, exactly, I can't achieve that yet. It's the 1%, it's the brick a day, it's the getting better every day and keep going every single day, because once you start slipping and allow days to pass you, that's where it becomes a trend, and that's where you start to fall out of love with everything. So that's why, like, with the podcast specifically, I got so much anxiety over the podcast because I came to the point where I was thinking about it every single day. I was like, we need to do this. But I was coming up with my own excuses. I was like, damn, I'm like working a lot right now. I got Chad Rail shit. I got to make sure I'm doing my edits. I got to make sure I spend time with my girlfriend. I got to, like all these different things in my head. I was like, okay, an hour a week, I can do that. You know what I mean? And we can that's what I'm saying. And it's just a matter of just getting through those mental frustrations. I hit the gym, bro. I hit it and I was like, okay, I need to do this. And I hit you up. I was like, I'm making a graphic. We're going to go fucking live on Sunday, because I get anxiety by not doing something.
Exactly. So. Can we talk about that logo for a second?
What?
I mean, I'm in love. I'm in love. I think it's hilarious. I totally would have been rocking that type of red shirt around that age. I think it's great. I think it fits. And you're so right about, so it's not enough just to say, I'm going to be a streamer. You have to own it. You have to own the process. Like,
yeah.
Yes, like you can't just log on and expect people to just find your channel. Like, you have to work towards it. You have to want it. And you also have to be honest with yourself. So when you're editing, don't just put out a product because you're frustrated and you're just like, all right, I'm just gonna put it out there. But like, try to learn from it, try to grow. If a video did well, try to understand why you think that video did well. If a video did poorly, why did that video do poorly? Learn from it, grow from it, and I think that's the point that we're trying to make. And because it's not enough. And gaming is so new. Like I'd like to say we're at the beginning. I know it started. At least in terms of streaming, it's over the last few years, but it's become wildly more popular in the last 2 years and during the pandemic.
Yep.
So for people out there, maybe their expectation was, this is going to be easy. I'm good at video games.
Right.
And there's some people like Chad, you have a personality, which is great, man. Some people are great at video games and don't have much of a personality.
Yeah.
And that's fine too. So to those people, I would say just find something that works for you. Maybe you don't go on camera at first. There's streamers that are doing it. And I think maybe finding something to model after is usually a good place to start as well. Was there someone who inspired you initially, or did you have a mentor coming into this? I know that can alleviate a lot of the anxiety of wanting to get started. If you have a mentor, someone you can ask questions, someone who really just genuinely wants to see you succeed without any financial benefit, someone that's not selling a program to you. Like I'm sure we'll see people, if it's not already, like, hey, I will help you on Twitch, I'll help you with the editing, like basically a class you can take online, live sessions, screen sharing. I'm sure if that doesn't already exist, it's on its way. If it doesn't, we should talk offline. But yeah, so I don't know what resources really are out there. So was there one thing that helped you more than the other? And I know YouTube is amazing, dude. I YouTube everything. Like, how do I hang this bookshelf? How do I do it correctly without this bookshelf falling on my face while I'm sleeping? Yeah, I YouTube everything. And there's typically a video for just about anything you're looking for. So what helped you the most? Was it a combination of YouTube? Did you have a mentor? And who was your inspiration? I know that's a stacked question, but...
mentor, honestly, like I didn't really have like somebody that like I said, like coming into the gaming industry, I didn't know anybody like at all, of course, right? The only person that I could really bounce ideas off of was Doink, because he was the only person that I knew that wanted to be in gaming. And I think he started like literally 1 month before me. And he's like, you got to do this, this is how you're going to build your page. And I've like taken those steps and I've done those things, right? So there has been growth just through following his process. And then when I learned that Instagram has translated over to Twitch, right? We got 16 people in here right now, which is a blessing. Thank you guys for being in here. And then
that's pretty good for an episode.
First episode, let's go. Yeah. So
I'm
then
more nervous now. 16?
And then with Twitch, I was able to network, find other streamers. People found me, and you just get immersed. And I'm just trying to get more and more immersed, right? I went to the MFAM barbecue by meeting more people, and then by meeting those people, I see, oh, this person's got a large Twitter following. Oh, this person's YouTube page is popping up, right? So then it just comes down to marketing, learning, and just meeting more people, and then furthering your growth in your brand, whatever it may be. Inspiration. I was always a big Nick Mercs guy, big Dr. Disrespect guy. I knew Doc wasn't really my personality, but I always joke around online when I was still playing Warzone when the Nick Mercs and Huskers beef was going on. Long story short, they were just like going back and forth through social medias and through their own streaming or their own streams about something related to Warzone. And they were both being toxic towards each other, XYZ, right? And I made the joke online when it was going on that I was like, Huskers is kind of like a fucking dweeb, right? The whole Chad thing, like when I describe Huskers as a Chad, not particularly. But Nick... I'm grabbing a beer with that guy. I'm holding his ankles while he fucking does a keg stand. Like I feel like I know him, right? So
I thought that was going somewhere else. I'm holding his ankles while he does a keg. Okay.
Oh yeah, there you go. Socks are on. Don't worry.
Okay. All right. Cool.
No, but no. It was one of those things where it's just I don't know. You find people that you relate to, and of course that's. Yes. You find who you relate to, that's kind of how you are, and you got to figure out how those people are networking themselves. So that's kind of where that is. Real quick, we do have like 5-7 minutes. I was kind of thinking towards the end of it, we could just kind of talk with chat, see if there's some good comments in here that I want to read, and we can kind of just feed off of them.
Feedback, I love that. Yeah.
So Dads Go Gaming, Warzone streamer, said this when we were talking about my process and that kind of stuff. He says recognition is crucial as well as realistic, but have dreams and set to targets on how and when to get there. Dedication is unmatched, and it's just about just keep going, Self-reflection is huge.
Self-reflection is so important. You have to be able to understand in the moment, like, I don't like where I'm at, whether it's in my job, whether it's, what kind of shape you're in, which I'll be honest, I'm not in the best shape and I want to be somewhere differently. You have to be able to like look yourself in the mirror and just be honest and be like, oh, it's not because of these reasons. It's solely because of me. It's the food I'm putting into my mouth. It's the choice I'm making to not go to the gym. And,
right.
It's my choice to go out on the weekends. But to your point, Chad, you have to have a process to optimize a process, right? So get started, develop a process, even if it's basic. The same could be applied across anything that you're trying to do. Working out, starting a podcast, starting to stream, going to school. You have to have a process to optimize it, and don't be afraid to start and maybe do some research on the front end to just try to get rid of some of that anxiety. But yeah, total 100%.
Telekinesis, aka Flick My Bean, aka KB. We were talking about how sometimes a degree doesn't mean anything. So we got 2 comments I want to read on that. One being from KB saying, the further up the chain you get, you realize most people don't know what they're doing, from the grunt to the CEO sometimes, which is interesting because it's like sometimes the guy just might be in that position because he's put in the most work and shook the most hands. Doesn't mean that he is the most qualified person, right? Which is why I'm huge on networking, bro. Of course, you can work smarter and work harder than everybody else, but at the end of the day, if you're not meeting the right people that can give you opportunities and open doors for you, unfortunately, it's a much longer and harder trip that I've learned. If you want to speak on that.
Yeah, it's not enough just to network. It's not enough just to say, hey, I met this person, but it's what kind of impression did you leave on that person is so important as well. And people really pick up on how you conduct yourself. So if it's somebody you met through work, for example, they're gonna like understand how you work. They're gonna understand what kind of person you're the person you are. If you're hanging out with colleagues outside of work too, that's equally important. I've seen people like murder their careers at happy hours because they just can't control themselves, and I'm probably guilty of it as well. But I live for the corporate happy hours, dude. When I know I'm not paying for that tab, I'm like, yeah, let me get the
let me get the shots in 1942.
This is getting expensed. I'm chilling.
This is getting expensed.
Networking is amazing. And it's harder. It's harder in an online environment. I was so much better going into the office. I met people, even for my company, there's so many different departments. There's marketing, there's accounting, there's product, and for me, the people I was most eager to meet were the people doing the job I wanted.
Right.
So if there's something you want to do, try to find somebody doing that job. 9 out of 10 times, most people want to help other people. Just human nature.
Agreed.
You could reach out to them on LinkedIn, on social media, and just say, hey, I'm interested in this. I'm thinking about doing it. Like, could we just set up some time to talk? I guarantee you that person will say yes. That would probably make their day. Because one, you're validating that, hey, outside looking in, I think you're successful at what you do. I'd like to be in your position at one point. At least I think so. Could we connect? And most people are going to say yes. And Chad, I just realized it. That's the why. That's why we're doing this. We're bringing that to people.
Yeah.
So,
light bulb moment.
I'm looking at light bulb moment right there. So that's where it started. Like, I have friends that have cool jobs. I do. And if we could bring them in and just kind of interview them but make it conversational. So it's like, and we're light, you know what I mean? Like, we're going to joke around, we're going to curse. And, we're going to keep it light, but maybe that sparks somebody to say, oh yeah, I never thought about being a firefighter, or, I'm struggling to think of other career choices. I have a buddy that does loans, and, there's so many different ways you can go. And then from the gaming side as well, if any of our friends or networks, anybody listening has started a business and wants to talk through some of the struggles and, how they started, maybe some of the successes they've seen, that would be the best for me. That would be mission accomplished at the end of the day.
Totally agree. Uncle Nick says, it's not what you know, it's who you know and what you can prove versus the truth fully. Shit's crazy.
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
Yeah. You gotta know something. I mean, if you don't know what you're doing, people are gonna pick up on that quick. And if you don't know what you're doing, figure it out fast and in a hurry.
No, agree. And I mean, it's one of those things where it's like, you know, who you know can push you further 100%. But if you are met with things that you don't know how to prepare for and work with and go through, right, you're going to ultimately fall. So, again, something that I've told my girlfriend as well as myself is like, don't rob yourself of the process, because the process is everything. Unfortunately, I'm still learning things, which is cool and stuff, but I'm also just like, come on, just let me make it already. Nick, raid me with your 30,000 viewers. Just raid me. Fuck it. You'll change my life, right? No, but it's like, unfortunately, that's like not the reality, right? I'm not looking for a lightning strike. I'm looking for sustainability within myself, where that moment might be great, right? The I made it moment could be fucking amazing, but what you got to do is just find the opportunities to grow within a time frame, and I guess you just gotta keep going through it, because you don't want to rob yourself of those learning experiences, right?
You talk about the lightning strike moment, and that's why people's expectations sometimes aren't met, because they didn't fall in love with the process. It's not the moment where it finally happened for you. It's all the incremental moments in between that led to that success. That's the difference.
Yeah.
That's where you find like true happiness and validation in what you're doing. It's not just the same could be true for getting a job, like actually getting the offer letter. It's like, that's a great feeling, you know what I mean? But it's so short. It's so short-lived. That feeling's not going to last forever, because pretty soon you're going to be waking up and doing that job, and you might have different feelings about it, and that's okay. But, like you said, just falling back on that process, the journey that got you there. What did I learn? Is so important.
Do you want to take we hit our hour mark? I know that we can literally talk all day every day. That's the dangerous part about us. I know. You got stuff to do. Stamina. If anybody in chat wants to say anything else, ask anything else, speak now, forever hold your peace. Let's each take, maybe just one hot take for the day. Where you at? Just top of the head, gut feeling. Where's your head at right now? I think he's reading chat.
Jeannie Sweet says, subtract negative people from your life. I think she's referring to me. I think that's her way of breaking up with me live. I don't know why you had to do that live on stream. That's hurtful, but okay.
I don't think you're that. Probably not about you. Probably not about you.
Damn, how do you do this, Taylor? It's hard to like read and.
You should definitely hear how many times I get fucking made fun of.
I want to sleeping with the boss's daughter. About to get married, shot past the other 100,000 times easier. Learning what you do, finding the door, having someone to open it is easier than finding the key. Yeah, Nick, I feel you on that.
That's a great take, honestly.
Yeah, no, it is. Knowing the right people are going to open you up to the right opportunities, but you still have to show up, and you still have to own that opportunity. You still have to go through it. So knowing somebody might get you the interview, but you still have to crush the interview.
Agreed. Miss Flick My Bean. Not everyone. Wow, that's actually like into fruition now, by the way. Oh, it's Miss Flick My Bean now, like officially. It's crazy. Not everyone has a dream job. They want to create a dream life and enjoy the process, because that's okay too. Agreed.
Yes.
You still have to show up and show out. Agreed. Podcast, great idea. Love you. Okay. We can't dive into this. So let's I just want what team you're on of what Nasty Apples just said. Are you wheels or doors? Give me your final take for the podcast. I'll give mine, and then we'll enjoy our Sundays.
Oh, that sounds good.
Are you a wheels or a doors guy? Have you heard this?
More wheels in the world than there are doors. It's definitely doors. It's got to be doors.
We went on this
last night. Does a doorway count? Does a doorway count?
Yeah, a doorway counts. Yeah.
Oh, it's doors. It's doors. Think about how many structures exist. Think about how many doors are within one building. It's doors. 100%.
See, I think I'm wheels. But we can re-dive into this. Give me your final take for today.
Final take for the podcast. I think Kayla brought up a good point. Not everybody has their dream job. And yeah, not everybody's, putting effort towards their passion. And I think life personally is about finding a balance, because would you be happy if you were flat broke, but you're pursuing what you love? And that's a tough question to answer. So you have to find this balance of, I'm comfortable, I'm able to support myself, but also, am I putting some effort towards something? If I never had started a podcast, would I regret it? Yeah, probably. Like, I love talking. I do this shit for a living. I'm on calls all day, but this is way easy. It's way more fun. This is way more fulfilling for me. And that's what it is. Like, it's okay to have that 9 to 5 and that grind, because you're supporting yourself. I might not be passionate about the software we're selling, and I am. I love the company I'm with, and I love the organization, but it might not have been what I was put on this earth to do, and that's okay. I'm still in a good position, and I'm still able to support myself. And now I'm finally putting effort towards something that's a passion of mine, and that's talking, connecting, and sharing ideas and stories that might help somebody in the future. And that's what it's all about. That's my hot take.
I love that. I'll end it with, I'll kind of just piggyback on it a little bit. I put myself in uncomfortable positions. I think at the end of the day, your intuition is like usually right. If you really feel like this pull towards something, even if you may not understand the why behind that pull, go and try to discover that why. We're all here put for a reason, whether it's divine, whether it's your own choice for your purpose, or anything in between those things. So never settle, keep going forever and always. We're gonna be doing these live every Sunday morning. Hope we get some cool graphics. We'll get some upgrades to the podcast. But as of right now, this is episode 1 of Field Trip.
Episode 1. Taylor, question for you.
Yeah.
Are other people podcasting on Twitch, or are we kind of like the pioneers here?
No, there's definitely a lot. We're like under right now on Twitch. We're under the just chatting section. So that is everything under the umbrella, from podcasting to cooking to fucking girls with their tits out licking your ears on an ASMR stream as well. So there you go.
I love we're in the same category as that.
That's our competition.
Yeah. I love that it's hopefully Sundays work moving forward. I think that'd be great. We got to reach out to some people in our network. We got to get some guests on here. I like the hour segment. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Taylor and I were talking. There's no football right now, and you can brunch anytime. Brunch is good on Saturday too. So anybody that has a 9 to 5 and looking to get rid of those Sunday scaries, we're here for you.
There we go. Hope you guys enjoyed the field trip on episode 1. I love you.
You ready?
You ready? All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Blake, I love you. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your Sunday. I'm not going to self-promote, but semi-self-promote.